Welcome everyone to another episode of Red vs. Blue Debunked. This is where I take your questions that you have about Red vs. Blue and attempt to answer them in this video. This episode we're going to be taking a look at the church family tree. More specifically, who's a part of it and who they really are. Now, as far back as we can go with the family is Dr. Leonard Church. You can say that he's really the cause for everything that's been happening to our main group of heroes. He ended up getting relieved of his command after the UNSC oversight divulged the nature of the director's illegal activities with his AI. Leonard worked under the belief that any course of action is preferable when faced with extinction.
I feel I must remind you that it is an undeniable, and may I say a fundamental quality of man, that when faced with extinction, every alternative is preferable.
This in turn caused him to torture his own mind, creating an AI based on all of his memories known as the Alpha. But we'll get back to that. During some point in his life, he met his wife Allison Church. We don't see or know much about her real self, but judging by Leonard, she meant the world to him, and it only hurt him that much more when she died in the Great War 23 years before the events of Blood Gulch. The death of the woman he cared so much about was practically torturing him. So on one night, the Alpha was sharing all of the pain that the director was feeling. Since they have the same mind, the Alpha split itself, getting rid of the grief, creating an AI fragment that represented his late wife. This in turn gave the director an awful idea. He could fracture the Alpha AI even further and produce more personalities. And he did. He tortured the Alpha and cordoned off portions of its mind to protect itself from going insane. The result? Rage, logic, deceit, trust, and memory. Once he had even more AIs to toy with, Project Freelancer's size increased, widening the net of those that would be hurt by his machinations. But we're not talking about the other AIs. We're here to focus on Alpha and Tex, both of whom are AIs based on other people. Tex is not and was never real. Throughout the entire series, she was the memory of Allison Church. Since the Alpha is based on the director's mind, Alpha and Tex believed that the two of them had a relationship. There was a never-ending goal with the two. Church was always trying to save Tex, but Tex kept dying. It was a never-ending cycle because that's all the memories knew. Tex was based on a failure. No matter what she did, she would never be able to complete her task. She would die on the home stretch, because that's what she was made to do. But let's get back to the real Leonard and Allison Church. Now, in a previous video I made talking about the freelancers and their AI, I mentioned a character, and there were a surprising number of you that didn't know a certain fact about someone, so I'm here to tell you. Before Allison left for the Great War, Leonard and Allison had a child, Agent Carolina. That's not her name, but we don't actually know what her real name is. But yes, Agent Carolina is the daughter of Leonard and Allison Church.
You were my greatest creation.
I don't know what I am, but I do know this. I'm more than just a copy of you. I'm better than you.
I wasn't speaking to you.
She was born around 29 years before Blood Gulch began. So, since her mother died 23 years before Blood Gulch, Carolina would have been around 6 when her father really began neglecting her. And this was a very detrimental moment in Carolina's life. Her father became depressed with the loss of his wife. This caused him to neglect Carolina even more. This is why Carolina is the soldier we know her as. She always wanted to be better than her mother. She strived to attain Leonard's attention, but unfortunately, it never really worked out. So back to the Alpha. As time went on throughout the series, it became harder and harder to follow who he actually was. First he was a soldier, then a ghost, then an AI, then Epsilon, and back to Church. Now, while it's true he was never a soldier or a ghost, the Alpha is dead. At the end of Reconstruction, this is where the Alpha died. He sacrificed himself to take out the meta.
When the EMP goes off, I'll be fine. It only affects computers, remember? And I am a motherfucking ghost.
What's going on?
He and the rest of the AIs were destroyed. So, who's the current entity calling himself Church? That is Epsilon, the Alpha's memories. So, just like how the Alpha is the Director's memories, Epsilon is the Alpha's memories. The unfortunate thing about Epsilon is that he has an expiration date. Epsilon is purely memories, and everyone can attest to this. Memories go away. You don't remember everything forever. Epsilon is on a time limit, and at the end of Season 13, it seems that it might be the end. Unless there's a way for Epsilon to continue his memories down the line, he is going to fade away. With that said, that is going to do it for this episode of Red vs. Blue Debunked. If there are any other questions you have about the storyline, then leave them down in the comments below and let me know.